Welcome to Deconstructing the Voice, and today we're going to talk Rigoletto.
Oh, lady, lady, oh,
Rigoletto. In particular, the role of the Duke of Mantua, the main tenor role for this opera. I wanted to try a new format for this video. I wanted to be able to provide some kind of resource for maybe some college students out there or anyone who may be working on an aria from this role so they could understand the dramatic arc that this character goes through, where in the story each number occurs, the vocal demands, the cultural expectations of how the role is sung, and the dramatic requirements for the Duke. First, let's talk about the story, the libretto. So the libretto itself was originally adapted from a play by Victor Hugo called Le Roi s'amuse. And it is kind of a historical drama based off of the exploits of Francis I. Due to censorship problems that Verdi encountered, the original title that he wanted, La Maledizione, which means the malediction or the curse, which pretty much is the key dramatic catalyst within the storyline. He wasn't able to use that, I'm assuming because it's a curse word. They didn't want it set in France, they wanted it set in an unimportant state. So the Francis I was turned into the Duke of Mantua, and his jester servant is Rigoletto. And Rigoletto is a hunchback, or just a very deformed figure who is just as malicious as his appearance, except for the pure fatherly love he has for his daughter, Gilda. So the three main characters are Gilda, Rigoletto, and the Duke. The Duke essentially has only two dramatic modes within the show. He's either plotting or planning on seducing a woman, or he is currently seducing a woman. That really is, he's just a two-note character. He is absolutely despicable. And yet, for such a terrible, despicable character, I think his songs are some of the more earwormy, the most pop soundy, lyrical. When you think of a really fun song, the Duke is the one who has the fun songs, which makes sense because he's the one who gets all the ladies, and he's just always happy. He never seems to be upset, except for in Act 2, and that's only temporary because then his worries are assuaged, but we'll get to that when we get to Act 2. So, opening aria of Act 1 after a small little dialogue. So it opens up with a dialogue where the Duke and one of his courtiers, Borsa, is talking. This is essentially a recitative number that happens after the prelude. With Borsa, the Duke is talking about his attraction for the Countess Ceprano and how he's planning on getting rid of her husband while at this party. And so after this short dialogue, he busts into song, Questa o quella, per me pari sono a quantal, tre d'intorno non mi vedo. He's essentially saying, this one or that one, all women are the same, I enjoy all of them. He's very much a scumbag. I'm not going to sing the entire aria, I'm only going to be singing portions of them to give you an idea of what the melody's like. A lot of the Duke songs involves just a lot of repetition of one motif. Questo o quello per me pari sono a quant'altri d'intorno mi vedo, del mio corre l'impero non cedo, meglio ad una che d'altra beltà. La costorro a Venezia il qual dono di che il fatto ne infiora la vita, Soggi in questa mi torna la vita, forse un'altra, domani lo sarà un'altra, forse un'altra, domani lo sarà. The second part, La Costanza, it's essentially the same motifs that you sang previously in the aria. The one thing is that in the written score, the way this aria ends is you have that high A flat. Una qualche beltà se mi punge una qualche beltà. That's how it's written in the score. However, there is a cadenza that's usually put on to the end of this aria. Una qualche beltà. And then you wait a couple of measures. Se mi punge una qualche beltà. So that's usually what people expect. It's going to be up to most likely the maestro whether or not he's going to want you to sing it. Most likely he's going to want you to sing it because that is just what everybody is used to hearing with this aria. I think if something were to happen, like if you were to be sick and you're singing this role, you could probably speak with the maestro. Maybe he would let you take it as written in the score. But it's a good idea to keep that cadenza in mind. You don't really have B flats in this aria without that cadenza. You do have like little grace notes, like degli amanti le da 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 da. In that case, you do have B flats, but it's such a small thing that you can kind of fudge it. But yeah, that cadenza, definitely you need your B flats for it. If you looked in the music, it is a fermata. Okay, let's continue. So number 3 is the actual seduction of Ceprano, the undertaking of the plot to get rid of her husband so that the Duke can have her all to himself. The dramatic climax of Act 1 happens in number 5 when Monterone appears. Monterone is the father of the Countess Ceprano, and he is very upset with Rigoletto and the Duke. He wants revenge on them taking advantage of his daughter, essentially. So he pronounces a curse, La Maledizione, on Rigoletto, telling him that he is going to experience a father's deep and terrible malediction. That's all in one big dramatic choral number as they're dragging the Duke out of the party. Then, first scene change, Rigoletto's cottage. Sparafucile is another character. He shows up as Rigoletto is just getting to his cottage at nighttime, and Sparafucile essentially says, hey, I am a mercenary, so if you want me to kill anybody, you just let me know. All it costs is half now, and then I'll collect the rest of the half once they're dead. And so Rigoletto says, okay, I'll think about it, but no thank you. And Sparafucile essentially leaves. Number 7 is where Gilda is introduced. Mio padre, she's introduced as saying, my father, which I would imagine would be very surprising to any audience member watching this for the first time, thinking, oh my goodness, here's this terrible monster person, but he has a daughter and he's being so loving and tender with her. This is what makes Rigoletto a much more three-dimensional, complicated, dramatic role, dramatically speaking, not dramatic as in operatic Fach, dramatic role than the Duke, because like I said, the Duke essentially only has 2 modes: actively seducing or he is about to seduce. So during number 7, this touching duet where Gilda is introduced and Rigoletto is exposed as is shown to be a loving father, the Duke just seems to happen perchance to walk by. He hears Rigoletto's voice and he hears Gilda's voice and immediately discovers, oh, this is Rigoletto's daughter. He throws a purse to Giovanna and the nurse who is in charge of Gilda and tells her to be quiet, and he hides until Rigoletto leaves. Gilda is in the middle of speaking a sentence. Sognando o vigile sempre lo chiamo, e l'alma in estasi le dice ta. And then the Duke finishes it. T'amo, ripettilo, si caro accento, un puro schiù di michel di contento. And then she calls for Giovanna. Giovanna, what's going on? Essentially, now the Duke is in active seduction mode. So there's a little bit of a recitative. And then we have the duet proper, E il sol dell'anima, la vita e amore. So this one is a little bit on the challenging part. I sang this for a show with Fresco Opera Theater. They do a community outreach, which they call Garage Opera. They have free shows within the community around Madison. And it's mostly designed for children, but adults really seem to like it as well. But this was for their Snow White adaptation. And working this aria, this one was quite difficult. Even though this is a duet, within this duet, I will say the Duke does the majority of singing, which seems to be a common thing with his role and within the ensemble numbers that he does participate in.
E sol dell'anima, la vita e amore, sua voce palpito del nostro cuore, e fama e gloria, potenza e trono, umane fragili qui cose sono.
Essentially, that's the same thing twice, just with different words. Then you get a little bit of a change.
Una pura vene sola divina, e amor che gli angeli più avvicina.
Take a breath, because the next phrase is very difficult.
Adunque amiamoci, donna celeste, dividi agli uomini, sarò per te. Dividi agli uomini, sarò per te.
So that is... So you have Adunque amiamoci, donna celeste, semi-chromatic scale upwards, but it's right at the dividi agli uomini, sarò per te. Dividi agli uomini, sarò per te. That is so difficult, and you have to do that more than once in this duet. That's what probably makes this duet so difficult. So Gilda repeats it, and the Duke gets a little bit of a musical break. Amiamoci, amiamoci. Then you get it one more time.
Dividi agli uomini, sarò per te. Dividi agli uomini, sarò per te.
Then a little bit of a break.
Adunque amiamoci, donna celeste.
And then essentially the same melody a few times over with differing dynamics. Then you get the cadenza. So when I actually performed this duet with my soprano partner, my co-star who was playing Snow White, I was playing a Superman version of Prince Charming. It was a very interesting show. We actually shortened the cadenza. We cut from where the tenor sings
per te.
completely skipped all of the ahs to
Ah, sì, per te.
And if you notice, this whole cadenza is unaccompanied, so it has to be a cappella, and you need to be in sync. So this is something that you're going to be working with the soprano in close quarters with until the two of you can get it just right. I'm not going to bother going into the first portion. It's quite strange. Well, I'll play it on the piano. So you have da 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 da. And that is all about chemistry between the Gilda and the Duke. After they finish the cadenza of the love duet, she asks him through some dialogue, "What is your name?" And he replies, "Mi no, Gualtier Malde, studente sono e povero." So he immediately lies to her, tells her a wrong name, tells her he's a student and poor. They hear some sounds, which is the courtiers showing up because they want to take revenge on Rigoletto. And they heard that he has a mistress hidden in his cottage. So they're currently skulking around the scene right now. Both Gilda and the Duke hear it. They're in a hurry. She says, non più partite, non più partite. Like, no more. Go away. I hear something. And then,
Addio, speranza ed anima.
da 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 da.
Sol tu sarai per me. Sol tu sarai per me.
It's essentially how the duet sounds. You can listen to recordings, but it's very quick. Ends with them going to some high notes. You have options of going up or down. If you go up, you're going to land on a D flat. That's what Pavarotti did. Otherwise, you can go
Addio,
which is how it's written in the music. Once that duet ends, he's gone. He's out of there. He's done for Act 1. He has a break until the very beginning of Act 2. But then Gilda sings Caro nome, which, dear name, quel mio cor, that my love, or that my heart. But she starts off the aria with his name, Gualtier. It's so sad. Anyway, I'm not going to sing this. This goes way high. It's fantastic. There's lots of jumping, bouncing. If this is probably, well, no, I would not say this is the most popular aria from this opera. That is the Duke's aria from the third act. After this aria, there's a little bit of a scene where Rigoletto runs into the courtiers and they say, we're going to abduct the Countess Ceprano. And he's like, this is not the Count's palace. This is my house. I'm not going to let you go in there. So they say, don't worry. They somehow get him blindfolded, convince him that they're going to go into the other house, but they go into his house, take what they think is his mistress, but is actually his daughter. She has a very unique scarf, which she drops as they're dragging her away gagged. And then he's like, hey, guys, are you done? Are you done? Nobody's around. He takes the blindfold off, finds the scarf, looks at Giovanna like, what happened? Where did she go? Where's my daughter? And then he ends the act by singing Maledizione! Referring to the curse placed on him earlier in the act. That ends Act 1. Next time, we're going to further develop the dramatic complications. We're going to encounter one of the most popular arias ever and an extremely infamous quartet. And we're going to discuss the opera's dramatic conclusion. I hope that this video has helped you get maybe an eagerness to see a local production of Rigoletto. Rigoletto is one of the more commonly produced operas, so I recommend if you have a local opera company that's putting on Rigoletto, take a look at it. It is one of the funnest, darkest, tragic operas. Until next time, bye-bye.